Good morning, everyone. I am obviously in my car again. It is miserable weather, and I wanted to make a video before I go to the craziness of work because a new formula just launched yesterday. So today I'm going to give you a nutritional breakdown of Bobbie Formula, which again is a brand new formula that just came out yesterday. Now, Bobbie did not check with me in my schedule when launching, and they chose the day when I was working from home and had no intention of putting any makeup on my face. So we're doing the review today instead. So for those of you who don't know me, welcome. I'm Dr. Bridget Young. I'm a doctor of perinatal nutrition and founder of BabyFormulaExpert.com. So again, today I'm going to go through the nutrition of the new Bobbie formula, what makes it different from other formulas that are currently on the market, and just my personal opinion of what babies may be a good fit for Bobbie formula. And this is actually really exciting for me because I did some consulting work with Bobbie in the early phases of their company, and I haven't worked with them in well over a year. So I didn't know what their final recipe was going to be, what they were going to end up putting out. So this was exciting for me to see it come out and see what their final decisions were, etc. So here's there's three really big differences that set Bobbie apart from other formulas that are on the market in the US. And here they are. Number one, it is both organic and from grass-fed cows. So in the US, we have organic formulas, and until now we had one grass-fed formula, which is Similac Pure Bliss, but no formula that was both organic and grass-fed, which a lot of parents are looking for. So now it's very exciting because we have one. Previously, you could only get that from a European formula, which is not for everyone. So I'm thrilled to just actually see that option on the market available through an FDA-approved formula. Amazing. Okay, next, this is another really big difference. Bobbie, like I mentioned, is organic, and the whey to casein ratio is predominantly whey. So their protein is 60% whey, 40% casein. All other organic formulas until now on the market in the US were predominantly casein. 70% casein, 30% whey. So that's actually a really big difference. So that's a big, especially if your baby is exclusively formula feeding, that's a really big difference in protein. And I, as a personal preference, prefer babies to be on a higher whey, at least to start with if they're having formula for the first time, because breast milk has a higher whey than casein. Don't get me wrong. Obviously, tons of babies do great on high casein formulas. But if you're starting from scratch, I like to see you start with a predominantly whey. So that's really exciting that we now have that in an organic option. Referring to my notes down here. Next, the Bobbie Formula fat blend is palm oil free. So all Similac formulas in the US do not use palm oil, but that's pretty much it until now. So if you wanted an organic formula that also did not have palm oil, you had to choose a Similac organic formula. So now you have another option if you're looking for either organic or palm oil free. So the combination together is pretty new. So that's really exciting. I have lots of videos and information on my site about palm oil. The punchline is if your baby is suffering from constipation, or if your child is having a lot of difficulty gaining weight, palm oil is something that you would talk to your doctor about considering avoiding. So if your doctor and you decide that you do, now you have another option, which again is really exciting. I know the formula, I was really overwhelming to everyone, but I love seeing all the options because every baby is different. And so it's nice to be able to do a little bit of picking and choosing your ingredients. So just as a quick recap of what we discussed so far, which is what makes Bobbie different from other formulas on the market in the US. One, it is both organic and grass-fed. It's the only organic and grass-fed formula on the market in the US. I'm really thrilled to see that become available for parents. Two, it is the only organic formula that is predominantly whey in its protein. So it is 60% whey, 40% casein. That's very different from the predominantly casein organic formulas that are on the market. And lastly, it has no palm oil. We do have formulas without palm oil, but only through Similac brands. So this gives you some other options. So that's very, very exciting. So I'm going to go through the other nutritional aspects of the formula, and then I'll end with some thoughts on what babies may benefit from using Bobbie. Okay, so I've already hit a lot of them. What I haven't mentioned, we'll start with the carbohydrate, is 100% lactose. So No alternative sugars, maltodextrin, corn syrup, sucrose, etc. So it's 100% lactose formula. We already mentioned that obviously it's an intact protein, which means the full size protein, and it is 60% whey, 40% casein, and then the fat, as I mentioned, is palm oil free. So the oils that make up the fat blend in the formula are high oleic oils, either safflower or sunflower, soy oil, and coconut oil. And that's the basic, it's a simple recipe. So they have gone for the niche of, I hate the word clean, but that's kind of what you would use here. Like a clean, simple recipe of doing minimal ingredients, high quality, being organic and grass-fed. So what I mean by that is simple is like there's not a prebiotic, there's not a probiotic, there's not a lot of the quote-unquote sexy extras like MFGM and all that stuff. They're just doing the minimal approach with clean ingredients. Again, clean, sorry, hate that word. Organic and grass-fed. So it does have DHA and ARA, which is one of my notes here. So they have 20 milligrams of DHA per 100 calories, which is the serving unit on a formula label, which is on the high end of what's available on the market. So they do add DHA and they add a pretty high amount of it. So to give you a reference, more than Enfamil adds, a little less than Gerber adds. So all formulas in the US add DHA. It's not required, but all formulas do add it. And so they are adding it, like I said, on the higher end of what other formulas in the US are adding. Something else in the nutrition that makes Bobbie a little bit different from some other formulas is the amount of iron. So you'll see in their marketing, they're using language like a European style recipe. And this is one of the things that make it quote unquote European style. So the grass-fed and organic together is definitely reminiscent of most European formulas. And the iron is a little bit lower than most US formulas. The US and the European Union have taken a very different stance on how much iron we should be putting in baby formula. And the Europeans tend to go for a much lower amount than the American formulas. And it depends on which very respected scientist you ask which is better. So it's not like one is better, one is worse. But breast milk itself has very, very, very low iron in it, which is why your doctor probably screens exclusively breastfed babies for anemia more often than formula babies. Because in the US, formulas have tons of iron, and much more so than European formulas. So the punchline is Bobbie has a little bit of a lower iron than the big name brands in the US, especially like Similac or Enfamil. To give you actual numbers, Bobbie has 1.2 milligrams of iron per 100 kcals. The only formula in the US that has lower is Happy Baby, adds 1.0 milligrams per 100 calories. If you put lower than 1.0 milligrams in formula in the US, you have to put a big disclaimer on the can that says supplemental iron may be necessary. And supplemental iron may be necessary for babies who have some kind of metabolic disorder or have low iron stores or anemia at birth. It's a very unusual circumstance. So 1.2 is actually on the high end of iron for European formulas. So most European formulas are actually lower than that. So they're kind of, if you're comparing US to European iron levels, Bobbie has decided to go like right in the middle, which based on like their marketing and their messaging is what they're going for. They're going for a quote unquote European style recipe that can be approved in the United States. So that made a lot of sense to me. So if you're looking for something that has iron levels more similar to a European formula, then Bobbie and Happy Baby are really the only ones that meet that for you. Gerber used to have their stage 1 formula be lower, but then they got rid of it. They got rid of their stages and they upped the iron again. So it's really hard picking what ingredient is most important to you and then choosing a formula accordingly. But again, I like to see options, so it's nice to have another option in the US that has still approved iron levels, but on the lower end, because a lot of families are looking for that. So I think that's very exciting. Okay, that was it for the really big differences in the nutrition component. I'll add one thing that I really liked. So they technically launched yesterday and they have a text number that you can text. All moms love a good text. I don't want to talk to anybody ever. I never want to talk on the phone again. So you can text questions, and I actually texted them about the DHA and the whey to casein, and they texted me back the answer, which is new in the formula world. Getting a hold of information, for example, about the whey to casein ratio is very challenging from some other companies, or at least you have to go through a lot of hurdles to get it. So it was nice to see that you could access information about the formula quickly if you're a concerned parent, and transparency about what's in the formula. Okay, so I will wrap up with some personal thoughts about what babies may be a good fit for Bobbie, the other way around. Bobbie may be a good fit for what type of babies. So first things first, you guys know I love talking about protein because protein is the most likely thing to cause a reaction for your baby. This is an intact protein formula. So it is not, even if you are dying to get your baby on an organic and grass-fed formula, it is not appropriate for babies with allergies. If your baby has an allergy, they cannot have this formula. Keep hanging in there. I'm so sorry. If your baby has been moved to a partially hydrolyzed formula and seen dramatic improvement on a partially hydrolyzed formula, I'd be wary to switch them to Bobbie because, again, even though it's organic and grass-fed, it's still an intact protein. So basically, if you know that your baby's intestine needs a pre-digested protein, this is not a good choice. So with that disclaimer aside, if you are just looking for, if you're starting formula for the very first time and your baby is term and healthy, which means you have the world open to you, this is a great choice to start with if organic and grass-fed is important to your family and if it fits into your family's budget. Reading my notes here. Again, yes, not if your child has an allergy. Then there's always this gray area if you're switching formulas of, I have my baby on this one formula, I just don't think it's the right fit. Like, they don't have an allergy, they don't have something scary like bloody stool, wheezing, scary things, but I just know that there's a formula out there that's better. When you're in that gray area, it's challenging to decide what you should switch your baby to. Should I try a smaller protein or should I try something like Bobbie? Let me give a concrete example. So say you start off on Similac Advance, which is a lot of babies start off on Similac Advance. Great formula, great. But your baby's not doing really well on it. Like I said, they're not having scary symptoms like that make you think they have an allergy, but you think something might be better. Similac Advance is an intact protein that's 50% whey, 50% casein, and the carbohydrate is 100% lactose. You could try a bunch of things. You could try reduced lactose. You could try a formula with more whey, or you could try, another option would be to try something that is organic and grass-fed. You would try them all for different reasons. So I can talk about organic and grass-fed for a minute. And again, I'm only speaking from personal experience here because there's zero research on this in infants. So all you parents are just left to experiment on your own baby, which sounds so sad, I know. So I have found that some babies who are in that gray area where it's just, they can be more comfortable, but they're fine, they're healthy, they're growing, so there's nothing scary, but they can be more comfortable. Some of those babies, again, just in my experience, do better on a grass-fed formula. I think, again, no research, that's not evidence-based, just experience. I think it's because when you have a cow that is grass-fed and fed an organic diet, we know those cows are healthier. They get sick less often. They don't need antibiotics. They can't have antibiotics. They're just healthier cows in general. And so we know from humans, I study breast milk, when a mother is ill, there's things that get into her breast milk from herself being ill. Antibodies are great, and that's one thing, but other things like inflammatory cytokines, things that naturally happen inside all of our bodies that get into the breast milk when the mother is ill. So we know that happens in cows as well. So if you're using milk from cows that aren't as healthy, there's going to be other things that get into the milk that we're not measuring in formula. Some things we don't even know about, and some things, like I just mentioned, cytokines, we don't measure that in formula. It's just well beyond our capacity to be able to do for the amount of formula we need to produce. So sometimes moving a baby to a grass-fed or an organic formula can get rid of some of those other things that are in milk, and that helps the baby to be more comfortable and thrive. Again, I am meandering here on my own personal thoughts because nobody's done that study, we don't know, but I have worked with many babies who that has made a big difference for them. And when Similac Pure Bliss, which is the only other grass-fed formula on the market in the US, came out, I wrote an article describing the nutrition differences, and the article is full of comments from families saying, we switched, it made a huge difference. This made all the difference in the world. And the base of the recipe is not really different from Similac's other recipes, some of Similac's other recipes. It's just that it's grass-fed. which again is just personal anecdotal experience, that really makes a difference for some babies. If your baby is riddled with eczema, I'm so sorry, so say your baby's on an intact formula and their response is that they're having terrible eczema, I probably wouldn't try Bobbie or Grassfed or an organic formula. I would probably move them to a partially hydrolyzed formula. Talk to your doctor and see what they suggest. But again, if you're just starting off for the first time, or if you're in that gray area of, I know my baby can be more comfortable, but I'm not concerned about their health, or their growth, this may be the answer that you're looking for. And then lastly, of course, I know that organic and grass-fed is really, really important to a lot of families. And if it's important to you and it's causing you stress, then it's important. Your stress affects your baby's part of your family, then it's amazing that we have this option, and do it. If it fits in your family's budget, I'm thrilled that we now have this option that's FDA approved in the United States. It's really exciting. And it's really exciting for a lot of pediatricians that are very anti-European formula to be able to have this to work with the families that's very important to them. I think that is everything. It's getting pretty late, so I really have to get inside now. If you have questions, put them in the comments. If I can answer them, I will. And if I can't, about Bobbie, text the number. It's great. They'll get right back to you. Yes, it's wonderful to see everybody. If you have more questions about formula and you're just really, really struggling and need some help, go over to my website, babyformulaexpert.com, and you can click on the Work With Me tab, and there's ways that we can work together that I can help you get your baby to a comfortable, happy spot. Have a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful week, you guys. Bye. I always say bye. When will I ever learn how to turn this off? Got it. Bye.